Welcome to the Loyolan Opinion Section's Roundtable for April 17th. Today we're discussing the increasingly unbalanced male-to-female ratio on college campuses and how these numbers may affect the behavior of students when it comes to relationships and hooking up, as discussed in a 2010 New York Times article. My two guests today are assistant opinion editors Joe Demas and Anna Escher. At LMU, 57% of the students are female, and this kind of ratio is pretty common across the United States. The article states that simply through the economics of supply and demand, it's females who have to assert themselves romantically. Do you think this is true at LMU?
Yeah, I think that that's definitely something we see pretty commonly here on campus. I mean, it's not like, you'll commonly see a group of girls around one guy, even if they're just hanging out. And I feel like they're also kind of competing. There's definitely a competitive nature at this school, among men and women. And yeah, I think that's for sure something that we see here.
Yeah, you see it all the time. It doesn't even have to be parties. It can be just during convo at lunch around, the lair. Personally, I don't have 10 girls sitting around me every day, but you can notice it just in any environment that the disproportionate ratio is going to affect the way interactions are, even if it's just strictly on a platonic level. It will still change the way that the two groups will talk to each other.
But how do you think these numbers affect behavior romantically, or when it comes to dating and hooking up?
At least from my experiences, I think that a lot of the things that the article says ring true, that there's sort of this quantification and commodification of dating, and that it's really a lot less personal than I think it ought to be. It's mainly, even if it's just through texting, or even the ways that that guys and girls interact is not very, it's almost superficial in a way. It just doesn't really feel like you're actually getting to know someone, when you're trying to get involved with them on more than just a hooking up on a Friday night or something.
Yeah, and off of that, you will see girls throw themselves at guys, and you will see guys treat girls very disrespectfully too.
And that's the other thing I want to talk about. The article talks about how women are increasingly throwing themselves at men or acting in ways that they think they need to compete with the other women, because there are just so many women and so few men. But men are also kind of taking advantage of this, I guess, because they're essentially holding all of the cards. So they can create a man's ideal of relationships, I guess, where casual hookups and cheating become the norm. And the article talks about that a lot. So what do you guys think about
that? I don't know. I think that when you have a social scene that's dominated by what a typical typical guy would consider what he would want, you are gonna see some things that are pretty unfair. If a typical college guy has his way, or has everything the way he would want it to be, you would probably see more hooking up, and less being nice to girls and actually texting them the next day, or responding to them, and so I think that's definitely true.
That's not my ideal male version of college, but obviously that's not the norm, and so yeah, you do see that it's just this it's hyper casual way of that men will interact with women at college. And either way there's going to be generalizations. It's not, obviously the typical male ideal is not going to be that, and it's not going to be the other opposite, where it's very chivalric, but it definitely does tend to lean more in the way of just hooking up, and that's fun for a while, and then it just sort of gets to the point where either it keeps going on, or people will just realize that this is just sort of pointless.
Yeah.
But do you guys think this is an excuse? Just because there is an unfair gender distribution in college, is this the way hookup and dating culture should be?
It's definitely not an excuse for men treating women poorly, or the other way around. It's not to say that there are definitely girls out there who take advantage of this and will sort of maybe just toss away guys who are trying to actually text them and be nice to them. But it's definitely not an excuse for just sort of mistreating anyone on either side, really. it's college and people are going to want to just, you know, have fun and experiment, and that's fine. But when it becomes to the point where you're just not really respecting people on a basic level like that, then yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah, I think off of that, like, everyone's responsible for their own actions, and, like, girls should be respectful of themselves and treat guys nicely, and guys should, like, show that in return and, like, be gentlemen to them. And, like, a gender discrepancy or, like, a higher percentage of girls or boys, like, really has nothing, or, like, should have nothing to do with, like, the way people treat each other in, like, dating.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining me, guys. For more from the opinion section, you can check out our print edition on newsstands or visit laloyolan.com anytime you want.